It's a typical afternoon in the busy, crowded biochemistry laboratories of University of Washington professor David Baker. He and his squads of students are designing new versions of the miniature machines that carry out nearly all the important functions of living things. Proteins.
You've probably heard of DNA and genomes. Those are the blueprints, the instructions. But what they're the instructions for is making proteins, and proteins go and do all the work.
Proteins regulate the electric currents in our brains. They metabolize the food we eat. They build up our muscles. They can both cause and cure diseases. They are the essential ingredients of evolution.
But now in the 21st century, we have all these problems that nobody faced during evolution. People are living longer, so there are all the diseases associated with aging. We're heating up the planet, so you have global warming. So there are all these problems that the world faces, and just in the same way that biology solved the problems it faced by evolving better proteins during evolution, our hope is to be able to create new proteins that will solve some of the 21st century problems.
It'd probably be useful down the road, both diagnostically and therapeutically, to have small proteins capable of binding them.
David Baker's team works at the level of nanotechnology, the science of the very, very small, in order to find the solutions to big problems. But those problems aren't confined to only what's going on inside our bodies. In the laboratory of chemical engineering professor Hugh Hillhouse, graduate student Corey Boucherel is mixing together copper, zinc, and tin, molecular precursors, in an oxygen-free glove box. She isn't searching for the next medical cure. She's working on a revolutionary new way to wean the world off fossil fuels.
So what Corey is doing is she's weighing out precursors that we use to synthesize nanocrystals.
In other words, solar cells that can be literally painted on an object. Efficient cells will be made from molecules found in nature that are cheap and abundant.
Ultimately, what we're developing is a science and technology and a set of chemistry and techniques, where ultimately one would be able to take a tool, move it across a surface, and have a functioning, robust, working solar cell. We're a long ways away from that, but that will be an era where virtually every surface that has any sunlight on it is coated with this.
Professor Hillhouse envisions a future where solar cells will form roof shingles and be painted on cars. Professor Baker sees a world where protein molecules can be designed to cure some of our most vexing diseases. These scientists and their colleagues are all pioneers in the exciting new field of molecular engineering and science.
It's design. So how do you design with molecules? How do you put molecules together in systems which do meaningful work? So you put systems of molecules together which are focused on a specific task or a job, in the same way you would say I would design a bridge to span the Tacoma Narrows.
The timing is right for a new engineering discipline where we really come in and take from a lot of different fields of engineering and science and bring them together in such a way that we could have real translational impact and help people. And our two major themes are clean tech and biotech. They're defined really broadly on purpose because we don't exactly know where things are heading, but we want people to have their eye on helping society and helping people with real applications.
We have people in the clean tech area who have been setting the land speed records for the efficiency in these polymer solar cells. We've had the people in the biotech areas who've defined what it means to design molecular systems for biotech applications.
Clean tech and biotech, gifted scientists and students, leading-edge laboratories in this brave new world of molecular engineering and science, all spread around the University of Washington campus. The question, though, is how do we speed up their progress? The answer, bring everything together under one roof. The solution, a brand new institute in a brand new home. The Molecular Engineering and Sciences Building. When we come back, we'll take a closer look at this sparkling new addition to the University of Washington campus. Visitors coming to the University of Washington campus will no doubt be impressed by the steel and glass facade of the new Molecular Engineering and Sciences building. But they'll be even more impressed by how the building will be used.
What's super exciting about the building is the Institute is larger than the building. It's an organizational structure that we hope to use both to catalyze research and to bring people together to define new areas of research, and also develop education programs.
If we bring these people together in a really creative way, then we'll exponentiate, we'll multiply the effect that they can have as a group. So really, that was the genesis of this institute and this building, was the idea we have the parts. Let's now bring them together in a way which they multiply instead of just add.
The new Molecular Engineering and Sciences building, MOL-ES for short, features 5 floors and more than 90,000 square feet of lab, computer, and instrument space. The floor system was engineered to minimize vibration. Equipment is protected from electromagnetic fluctuations. There are 3 living roofs. And in the basement, there is a world-class molecular analysis facility containing state-of-the-art instrumentation. These instruments will be used not only by the entire research community at the UW, but also by Seattle's nonprofit and technology communities. Upstairs, the workspaces are designed for the most important aspect of the Institute: collaboration.
This space here that you'll see is going to be a collaboratory, as Pat calls it.
It has a minimum number of walls. The lab space is largely open, and it was designed from the beginning to be open.
So what we hope is that by bringing us all together, we'll be able to not just harness the expertise that's within each group, but to be able to branch out and really integrate solutions from these other groups.
Professor Pun's area of research is drug delivery, designing transportation systems to get drugs made from proteins to the exact place they need to go in the body.
In our lab, we focus on trying to get materials into the central nervous system, so related to the brain or to the spinal cord.
Pun and her students work with high-tech imaging systems, identifying proteins with fluorescent markers to follow their progress.
They have fluorescently tagged our material, and they're looking at it under a fluorescent microscope. That magnifies the cell so you can see it, and the fluorophore tag allows you to track where it's going.
These nanostructures are very beautiful, they're very layered, they're very interesting, and what we can do is actually trying to emulate and surpass what nature is doing by using protein. And we like to design these proteins to do so. We like to modify their structure. We like to make them do things that they don't necessarily want to do.
We are a protein engineering lab, so we'll have people growing bacteria that have manipulated or designed proteins to perform specific tasks or functions. So right here is a water bath. It maintains a constant temperature for our bacteria to grow in.
So this is where the molecular engineering comes in, really literally making proteins, nucleate things, assemble stuff, self-assemble, make interesting materials, harness different properties, and thinking beyond to the new generation of electronics devices, displays, and the way we will interface with the world in the future.
Professor Bannax and his students work with something called quantum dots, very tiny molecule-based semiconductors that emit light and will be used in the future for TV and cell phone displays.
So a lot of the things that we do in my group is making these different materials and trying to make them in such ways that are green, that are efficient, that cost very little energy, and that make them easy to move, assemble, fabricate, with the ultimate goal of being able to build things the way nature does.
Molecular engineering says, I'm not going to machine anything. I'm going to brew something. I'm going to put things together, but the properties, the design of the molecular systems are such that they will assemble together to give me a function that I want.
In Professor David Baker's lab, an online game his team invented called Fold It invites the general public to help design new proteins.
So gamers are designing proteins. Then when we get their solutions back, we look at them, and the best ones we actually make and test in the lab. And some of the people who are best at the game are people who really have no science experience backgrounds.
We could target a specific region that we know to be more conserved.
These scientists go to the internet to order special genes which come back to the lab already outfitted with a specific protein they've designed. In this case, they're searching for a protein that can be used to treat any strain of flu a person could get.
And it's basically the same for all the different types of projects we're doing, whether trying to create sort of new routes to fixing carbon dioxide or trying to bind proteins that may be able to be useful for treating cancer or autoimmune disease, or making new materials.
David is a great person to have in this institute, in this building, because he crosses over between clean tech and biotech. And he's working on some of the issues around replacing our current materials that are dependent on petroleum sources.
When we come back, we'll meet some University of Washington scientists working to tap into the one source that holds the key to solving all our future energy needs, the sun. Here's an amazing fact. More energy in the form of sunlight strikes the Earth's surface in 1 hour than the entire human race uses every 6 months. It makes sense to find ways to harness that energy. And that's exactly what University of Washington scientists in the field of clean technology are working on. Working with organic molecules to engineer renewable alternatives to fossil fuels.
What we're primarily interested in is looking at how to convert sun energy that strikes the surface of the Earth into usable energy. And so the way that we're going to do that is we're going to use sunlight energy to split the bonds of water and form new bonds of hydrogen and oxygen, so making hydrogen gas and oxygen gas. Hydrogen carries a lot of energy within its bond, and so when it reacts with oxygen, it releases all that energy. And we can take that energy and we can use it similar to the way that we combust gasoline in our car.
This kind of research really requires collaboration among scientists with various backgrounds.
And that's exactly what the new Molecular Engineering and Sciences building is designed to do, bring together research teams from across the campus to share results and accelerate ideas.
Extremely attractive features of this building, apart from the nice physical facilities, is that it will serve the function of catalyzing these kinds of collaborations. It will bring together people from different parts of the campus with different backgrounds, put them in the same place, have them working side by side with one another, and that can only be a good thing when it comes to these types of interdisciplinary challenges.
While the scientists in Professor Gamlin's lab research ways to use the sun to release and store hydrogen, Professor Christine Luscombe and her team experiment with strings of molecules called polymers in order to make inexpensive solar cells.
So one of the advantages that these polymers have is that you can make more lightweight and flexible devices, which you can't really do with existing technology. So you could think about having all your cell phones or all your laptops being covered with these plastics, which can then allow you to get electricity on the spot and be able to use your devices. People always ask me, well, isn't solar energy a bad idea in Seattle because we don't get enough sun? But actually the type of technologies that we work on, so both my group, Hugh Hillhouse's group, David Ginger's group, we all work on a type of device that actually works better with diffuse light, not intense sunlight. So in that sense, I think it puts us at the edge of trying to build this type of new technology.
After Professor Luscombe devises these new solar cell materials, Professor David Ginger takes pictures of them, unique microscopic images that tell scientists if the materials work or not.
Right now, the reason we don't have more solar power on our roofs is because it's so expensive. And the way people are trying to bring down costs is clever financing schemes, government subsidies. We're in a time right now where we can't subsidize our way out of things, right? We need new technologies, we need new discoveries to bring down the cost.
All of the scientists we talked to emphasize that these new designs in biotech and clean tech will take time to develop and test. A breakthrough in treatment for Parkinson's or Alzheimer's would be at least 5, 10, or 15 years away. The same goes for the ability to paint a car with energy-generating solar cells. But all agree that working under the same roof will not only speed up the process, but lead to new molecular engineering designs they haven't even thought of yet.
I'm very hopeful that we find crosstalk between the biotech research, molecular engineering research, and the clean tech molecular engineering research.
We need step jumps in our capability to perform these kinds of transformations. And those qualitative step jumps, in my view, will be most likely to be achieved through bringing together people with disparate backgrounds and forcing people to think about the problems from perspectives that they haven't previously considered. That's how we're going to get the most creative approaches to trying to solve these problems.
Finding creative solutions to pressing problems using molecular engineering. When we come back, these same scientists will tell us why the University of Washington is poised to be a leader in the field, and why Seattle is the perfect place for this to happen. The Pacific Northwest has long been a hotspot for innovation, from software design to internet startups to global health and biotechnology. It somehow seems fitting that the University of Washington should take the lead in this bright new field of molecular engineering.
It's going to happen, okay? And why shouldn't that happen in Seattle?
It has a tradition of environmental conservancy, recycling, and so on and so forth. And it's a place that is very green compared to other places in the States. And people respect that, and they find it important. We have a fairly strong biology, biotechnology, and medicine core right here. We have strong component in public health.
Well, I think by pushing this frontier concept of molecular engineering and science, the University of Washington is really taking a leadership role.
A lot of people can see that this is going to be a really important new area for industry and technology. So having this new building and the new program should really nucleate what could be a really important area for the 21st century, both inside and outside of universities.
Outside the university, Dean O'Donnell sees the potential for molecular engineering to have a tangible economic effect, much like the software boom of the 1980s.
So I think it's actually a challenge to us as a community, not just a challenge to the university, but the challenge to the community of how do you take advantage of this, right? How do you commercialize this in a way which is going to affect our economy in the same way that software affected our economy in the last 25 years or so, and the way biotech is starting to affect our economy.
The Mole ES building was completed in July of 2012 at a cost of $77 million. Faculty spent the summer moving in. This fall, the Institute rolled out the welcome mat for students.
It's a great space for students to work in because all the things that that everybody learned in chemistry and physics and even engineering as well, they're all at play in when you make solar cells and think about how to utilize the solar resource. they can change the future of the planet. And that motivation is really a big driver for a lot of the students.
It's amazing how many students really want to pitch in and try to solve what they view as problems for their generation and future generations. And so, I think for them, this is a golden opportunity.
At the graduate level, we're hoping to create a new degree in molecular engineering and sciences, and this would really be impactful and translatable to the rest of the country and the rest of the world. I think we have a real leadership position and an opportunity to do this.
Dean O'Donnell envisions an institute where a kid who is really into chemistry and really into gadgets will now have a field of study designed just for them.
I can't wait until the day that I am at the hub, I'm having lunch, and they're all sitting there saying, freshmen, right? And going, what are you gonna do? Oh, I'm gonna do sociology. What are you gonna do? I'm gonna do electrical engineering, because I'd like to build gadgets and all that. What are you gonna do? Molecular engineering. And everybody goes, ooh, that's cool.
A brand new institute, a brand new field of study, a brand new building. It's all very exciting for the Pacific Northwest, for the university, for the students. But their teachers will be the first to tell you that the most important component is still the work, the hours of painstaking trial and error, designing with molecules, the tiniest building blocks in nature, to help solve some of the world's biggest problems.